If there is one thing which scares me most about being an online content creator, it's stalkers. I mean, just the fact that I have to look behind my back wherever I go, or be careful with whatever I put out there onto social media, knowing that there may be a bad apple out there who's trying to take that information and find out more about my privacy, my personal life, my family members, my address, where I live, is something that I always have to think about. Stalkers are really nothing new. We see them in all different sorts of genres and communities. However, let's not disagree that it is probably at its most down bad in the ASMR community. It's a predominantly dominated female industry, and I've heard from personal account from my peers that I've talked to that stalkers, people taking your clips and using them for nefarious reasons, trying to find out your address, is something that women, especially in the ASMR community, have had to suffer for years. And I've never seen a situation more concerning, disturbing, and outright dangerous than what's going on with Karuna Satori. For those of you who don't know who Karuna Satori ASMR is, she's a pretty big ASMR YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers on her channel and is considered to be, essentially, one of the OG ASMR channels who even started making videos before I started uploading them on my YouTube channel. I always remember watching her videos back in the day, and to this day, I still love watching a good Karuna Satori video. They're just great to vibe out to. She's also had an inspiring journey with her health recovery, as she's very open about it on her YouTube channels. Whether it's seeking out therapy, going to rehab as she's a former recovering substance abuser, and just taking care of herself physically, mentally, and spiritually, it's amazing to see that these days you can just see that she's doing a whole lot better nowadays than she was a few years ago. However, the situation with her stalker, Klantra, is some of the most outright dangerous and disturbing stuff that I've seen. In fact, she's messaged me herself personally, telling me to tell you guys that if anything were to happen to her, it is most likely by his hands. So we're going to get right into this, but in order to give you context, we need to go back all the way to 2010, as this has been a saga which is now 14 years in the making. In 2010, a former substance-abusing Karuna ended up going to rehab where she met a girl called Megan, who was also at the same center, recovering from different substances that she was abusing. They ended up getting along really well with one another and ended up entering into a mutual relationship together. However, that ended up terminating towards the end of the year. Fast forward 4 years to 2014, when they haven't heard each other for many years, Megan reaches out to Karuna to meet up once again. However, when Karuna gets into her car, she's greeted by some random stranger called Klantra, who ends up driving both Megan and Karuna back to her place. Whilst they're trying to get along, do their thing, John is consistently walking past their room, trying to see what they're doing. Already some red flags, but nothing too outrageous, I suppose. As time went on, and as Karuna and Megan started to get along again, John would consistently try to get in between the two of them, or try to make the situation untenable for both of them to hang out with. As time went on, things got even stranger. John would literally drive his car outside of Karuna's street, consistently, essentially seeing what they were up to. Karuna ended up having to terminate her relationship with Megan because the situation just became untenable. John was literally doing whatever he could to stop them from hanging out with one another. And this all came to a boiling point where Klantra, age 38, was charged with aggravated assault, unlawful restraint, intimidation of a victim, and probable cause in domestic violence. Police said that the dispute erupted on a street, which I won't mention, where Klantra allegedly dragged Megan Stewart through a neighbor's yard across a gravel driveway into the house where she was prevented from leaving. Klantra allegedly punched Megan in the throat and told the woman that he was going to chain her to the basement, according to a criminal complaint. Police said that when he climbed out, he grabbed Megan and threw her over his shoulder. Police said that the woman's mother arrived and drove her from the scene. This made John mad. Very mad, obviously. And what else do you do when you're a 40-year-old man-child who has nothing else better to do than harass other people? Well, you go on Facebook and you threaten them and their family and their children. He says that if you, my girlfriend, or post a stupid newspaper article about me and owe me $1,700, well then, yes, as I've said before, I'm going to murder you so badly that you're going to die. Yes, that is what murdering is. Your kids are better off in foster care. And then he says some other stress. Fast forward to 2015, and John is on a vehement revenge. At this point in time, Karuna and her husband ended up separating and were living separately. And whilst Karuna was living separately, John was constantly driving his car, stalking her to make sure he knew where she lived. And he ended up doing something which I've literally never seen before and is straight up pure evil and creepy. He made a Craigslist ad of Karuna and put it on the internet. In fact, it was so bad that one morning, a 60-year-old man rocked up to Karuna's apartment and was there to perform certain acts with her, and she had no idea about it. And when she asked what it was, the man showed her a Craigslist ad of Karuna, which she never made. It was all John. Karuna and her husband Victor end up getting back together and are living together once again. Things are all going well and fine until a constable arrests Victor for forgetting to pay a traffic light fine. And in a desperate situation, Karuna didn't have the money at the time. This was before her YouTube channel really started to take off. So in a desperate situation, Karuna reached out to her friends on Facebook or friends close by if they could help her out to get her husband out of jail, and they would immediately pay them back. And who else to come to the rescue than John Klantra himself, who, in an effort to put water under the bridge, to extend an olive branch, to set the record straight and start fresh, thought that this was a great way to do it. With no one else to turn to, Karuna accepts John's $350, and together they end up getting her husband out of prison. They immediately then pay back John, but he was unsatisfied with just that payback. He wanted more than just cash to be paid back. He wanted Karuna to perform certain favors for him, if you know what I'm getting at. Certain physical acts. What a creep.
I never got to touch it, taste it, sniff it, feel it, nothing. You promised I could. I don't care about that, though.
So when Karuna refused to provide John with certain physical acts of service, he went ahead and doxed Karuna, posted her phone number on Facebook, and lied that she scammed him. He leaked her address, leaked her nude photos, went ahead and contacted Child Protective Services over and over again, sent random people to their houses, and even rocked up to their house at one point with a shotgun just as some sort of intimidation tactic. As you do. John was frustrated and continued to park his car along their residence or drive in their street. In fact, it got so bad that when Karuna had to upload her YouTube videos, she would go to her friend's house across the street to use their internet to upload her videos. And every time that she did that, his car would literally be sitting down the driveway watching them. He also then would throw and smash bottles along their road, trying to just vandalize the area. It got so bad to the point where the police were called, and they ended up catching him, and he was charged with criminal mischief. John attempted to go to every outlet possible to try and ruin Karuna's reputation and destroy her. It's just outright narcissistic, borderline psychopathic behavior. So things ended up going quiet actually for a few years, and what I didn't understand was how come seemingly out of nowhere John Klantra was back in Karuna's life in 2023. Well, the reason for that is because, first of all, he started running for council of all things. He's really a man for the people. He's gonna stick it to the man. If no one can do it, John Klantra can. He got 0 votes. In fact, videos started leaking of him at his, council's bureau absolutely going crazy and borderline manic, if you will. And then also he started entering a completely different dispute with one of his neighbors for continuously parking his large stationary vehicles off the streets to the side, which you're not allowed to do. That's also caused a massive issue, and that started gaining attraction online. So Karuna went ahead, as any person would if you had a bad history with someone and you like seeing them get a little bit of trouble, she commented, "Have the day you deserve," and then immediately deleted it because she recognized it was childish, and I respect that she acknowledges her own shortcomings in this situation. However, if you post something on the comment section of another YouTube channel, Google actually sends an email of that to the user. So even though she deleted the comment, John saw it, and that started this whole new... He ended up uploading a 40-minute long YouTube video essentially responding to her, and in this 40-minute long video, to save you the hassle of watching it, it is some of the most incoherent mumbo jumbo. There's no real coherent thought going on in this. It's quite disturbing to watch, and he also makes it really obvious that he's quite upset that he never got to have the certain acts with Sarah. Even though he was paid back entirely for helping her husband get out of prison, it's crazy. That video is now deleted off of YouTube for obvious reasons. Right now in my town, there are currently 2 police bureaus watching his every move. His YouTube channel, The Klantra, is showed posting multiple videos of him harassing the PD, doxing their addresses, and posting their names. His most recent video is driving onto school property and parking. But with me, I'm getting multiple death threats and defamation. I already luckily have an attorney, and we're starting with a cease and desist, as this started back in 2015 and is back again with a vengeance. We are very scared. I'm trying to make it lighter with humor, but everyone is in fear right now. The chief of police of his bureau, which is also the one being harassed, is on vacation this week, therefore John picked this week to go manic. I have so many screenshots, videos, and DMs regarding how serious this is, so I genuinely appreciate you offering this. I have no issue with you spreading the awareness of him as a person, or just the fact, if something happens at this time, please know it was John Klantra. He is unhinged, and this is the only way I can get it out there since his literal channel is about his rights, and the police knows he knows them. Even a PFA is out of bounds at the moment. I can however go defamation-wise, which we're starting there. Again, know if something happens, it was definitely him. I hope you have a great night, and my apologies. John is extremely crafty with how he makes threats to Karuna by not using her full name, and she makes this apparent to me. She says he can't be prosecuted because he hasn't used my full name to make direct threats. In a story I posted earlier, he'll make insane lies that are very damning and unproven and followed by a threat. He knows I'd get and feel humiliated and not ever want the public to think of those things, so he knew I wouldn't share it. But I have no choice. Also, law enforcement is involved, but they're trying to get him on other charges. The most recent is trespassing on an alternative school property. It's a frightening situation, so essentially he is using his rights to not be prosecuted. And so that's where we're at with this whole situation. I'm going to link Karuna's channels in the description box down below, as well as her original videos covering this topic for the span of many years. Please go show your support, and I thought it was important to spread awareness out there. Big thanks to Karuna herself as well for providing me with a ton of information. I really appreciate her help. And yeah, please stay safe out there, everyone, and I'll let you know if there's any updates in the situation. Goodbye.